1 week after Anime Milwaukee 2017, I headed down south to Indianapolis for Anime Crossroads 2017. This was my second year ever attending Anime Crossroads. Back in 2016, I had an excellent experience at this event, and I felt that it was one of the best anime conventions the state of Indiana had to offer. Does it still keep up in 2017? Anime Crossroads 2017 was held at the Wyndham Indianapolis West on the west side of Indianapolis, right next to the airport. In my last review of Anime Crossroads, I felt that the Wyndham was a solid location for this event, but in 2017, there's no denying that the con was much more crowded than its previous year. While I personally felt that the venue wasn't overwhelmingly crowded, it definitely raises a concern in the future as this con continues to grow. The Wyndham may no longer be big enough to handle this event in the coming years. The layout of this convention was completely different compared to 2016. Almost all of the main rooms were moved to new locations. For the most part, the new room changes were for the better, with very few even being an issue. What still annoyed me this year were the lack of water stations. Once again, Ayres did not have a lot of places to get water. I personally had to resort to the small water fountain hidden near the restaurant area. You actually had to purchase water bottles at their concession stand, which cost $2 a bottle. If you are heading out to this location, be sure to bring a giant water bottle with you, as you will get dehydrated very quickly. On a plus side, one great thing about staying at the Wyndham is that if you make a reservation for at least 2 nights before a certain deadline, you get 2 free badges for the con. And speaking of badges, my friends and a few other people ran into a few issues with the con's registration. There appeared to be organization issues with badge transferring. My friends told me that there were communication issues regarding who the badges get transferred over to and what type of badge they receive. Another issue I ran into were the guidebooks. While the guidebooks were very well made and had very good descriptions for the main events and guest panels, it was missing the locations and times for all the panels as well as the descriptions of the fan panels. We had to get the schedule on a separate sheet of paper and had to look at the signs in front of the panels to get the descriptions of the fan panels. But other than that, I didn't run into any issues with late panels, and I felt that the staff were all very nice and friendly. Anime Crossroads once again excelled with all of the events it had to offer. Ayres had an epic opening ceremony with an awesome AMV to start off. It's actually one of the best opening ceremonies I've seen at con so far, as it really kept the audience going. Anime Crossroads had events such as the Burlesque Show, the Pokemon Gym Leader Challenge, their AMV contest, now known as VAT, as well as their masquerade. One thing I wanted to mention was that the main events room was smaller this year compared to last year, but I felt it wasn't a huge issue for a majority of the main events. The only time I noticed main events capping was their masquerade. Anime Crossroads also had a photoshoot area with very good lighting, but I felt that this area may as well be called a private photoshoot area. Some of the photographers who ran these photoshoots acted as if they didn't want anyone else taking photos. I've had people tell me that the photoshoot area didn't feel welcoming at all. For other photoshoots I've attended at cons, the main photographer shot simultaneously with everyone else. But for this photoshoot area, it really felt that the main photographer was the only person who was allowed to take photos. As for the masquerade, Anime Crossroads had a very solid event overall. I felt it was very well organized and I found it to be very enjoyable. Though I did feel that the music for the first act was a bit too low in volume. And I also felt that the use of lighting could have been a lot better. It actually felt very plain compared to the other masquerades I attended. Of course, Anime Crossroads didn't forget about the guests. Ayres had a great lineup of cosplayer and voice actor guests this year, and they also ran very good panels, especially for those who are aspiring actors, as there were plenty of acting workshop panels for the whole weekend. One area that really got scaled down this year was the autograph area. It was in a much smaller room this year, and for some of the larger sessions, it just wasn't big enough to handle the long lines. Regardless, you shouldn't have any issues with autographs at this con, as the sessions were handled very well. For the size of the convention, Anime Crossroads had an excellent dealer's room and artist alley. The dealer's room had plenty of variety, and there's bound to be something to satisfy any anime fan. The artist alley I felt was a huge step up from last year. I was very impressed with so much of the artwork that I could have bought so many of the prints there. The video game room at Anime Crossroads was a slight improvement over last year's. It was now in a larger room alongside the tabletop gaming room with huge projection screens for tournaments. This video game room lacked retro and arcade gaming, but overall the game room just gets the job done. But I feel that this is one area the con should continue to spice up for next year. And lastly, let's talk about Saturday's not rave or electronic dance. It was excellent. Ayres was once again an incredible DJ who played tons of nerdy music for everyone to jump to. I especially loved all the video game music he played. It was a fun night and everyone I spoke with all said they had a great time. Before I get to my verdict, I would like to give a big shout out to that fellow from Indianapolis himself, Cody from Convention Reviews. Please check out his channel for con reviews, vlogs, as well as cosplay music videos. Also check out his World Travels channel for his expedition into the Philippines a few weeks after this recording, with all the links in the description. Anime Crossroads in 2017 was a good year overall. This year definitely proved that Ayres is growing to become a bigger convention. While I did run into more issues this time around compared to my previous year, I still had a very fun weekend. The first thing I liked about Ayres were the 2 free badges with the hotel room reservation. This was a great deal for this event, especially when you consider that the 2 badges cost almost the same amount as staying for one night at the Wyndham. I also really love the dealer's room in Artist Alley. Anime Crossroads continues to have one of the best small con dealer's rooms I've seen, and fans of Artist Alleys will have a lot to love here. I also really liked the electronic dance. It brought an excellent beat and the crowd just went crazy all night long. Thank you Ayres for another great night. Next is the epic opening AMV. That AMV was the highlight of the opening ceremony. Not a lot of cons have an opening AMV as good as what Ayres presented. A huge shout out to Faye for producing that spectacular AMV. And lastly, I like the guest lineup Ayres had this year. Anime Crossroads may be a small con, but they still brought a very good selection of guests, with some of the guests we don't see very often around this area. The first thing I disliked about Ayres this year was the unorganized badge transferring system. There were a lot of communication issues as well as confusion with the transferring of badges during registration. I also wasn't a big fan of the guidebooks not having all the info. It was missing the locations and times for all the panels as well as the descriptions of the fan panels. It would be more convenient to have all the information in one guidebook. The photo shoot area I felt was too private and reserved for the photographers who run the photo shoot. Compared to the other photo shoots I've seen at other cons, this photo shoot area felt too restrictive for those who want a quick snapshot of the cosplayers. The autograph area I felt was too small as opposed to last year, especially for the larger lines where hallway crowding was an issue. And lastly, I was still annoyed by the lack of water stations at the Wyndham. The worst thing that could happen at a con is somebody passing out due to dehydration, and not having any water stations greatly increases the risk of having this problem. Anime Crossroads is a small size convention, and my recommended travel time to the con is 4 hours or less. Anime Crossroads puts a lot of pride into their AMVs, so if you are a huge fan of AMVs, then this con is for you. Ayres is also a great first con for those who have never been to an anime con before. Ayres is very laid back and not as overwhelming as larger conventions. This is a great introduction to what anime cons have to offer. Anime Crossroads also had a very family-friendly atmosphere. I never experienced any inappropriate areas at all from my experience. And for fans of voice actors, Ayres is a great con to interact with your favorite voice actors, and getting autographs is much easier than larger cons. Anime Crossroads is a great con with notable areas that could use improvement. If you're an anime fan living out in Indiana and looking for a solid anime convention, then Anime Crossroads is the con for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give Anime Crossroads 2017 a 7 out of 10. It was a good experience, but it could definitely be a lot better. Thank you all for watching my video review of Anime Crossroads 2017, and don't forget to check out my cosplay music video from the event. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more convention videos. Until then, this is Justin. I will see you at the next con.